October 21st, 2012. This is the Information Nation. I'm your host, Ken, on the Orion Talk Radio Network. OrionTalkRadio.com, theinformationnation.com. I hope everybody's doing well. I'd like to thank Joe Joseph and Tim Watts for putting my name out there. I'll probably have the CIA, FBI, and Interpol and all the rest of them kicking down my doors in the middle of the night. Thanks a lot, Joe. I appreciate it, buddy. Heck of a show Joe does, isn't it? Him and Tim give you a lot of good information on that show. Hey, do you know what the difference is between living out in the country and living in the big city? The cops in the country actually trust the people. Yeah, they actually trust the armed people because armed posses patrol Timberland in Sheriff's Place. And they're called Citizens Against Crime. And this is in Oregon. And there's no room in the county jail for burglars or thieves in the Sheriff's Department in a vast virtual corner of southwest Oregon. Has been reduced by budget cuts to 3 deputies on patrol 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. But the people in this traditionally self-reliant section of timber country aren't about to raise taxes to put more officers on the road. Instead, some folks in Josephine County, larger than the state of Rhode Island, are taking matters into their own hands, mounting flashing lights on their trucks and strapping pistols to their hips to guard the communities themselves. Others have put together a virtual neighborhood watch using Facebook to share tips and information. I believe in standing up for myself rather than waiting for the government to do something for me, said Sam Nichols, a retired marina manager. Nichols has organized a posse of about a dozen fed-up residents who have started patrolling the small community of O'Brien, which has about 750 residents. We call ourselves CAC. CAC Patrol, Citizens Against Crime, he said. Separately, the retired sheriff deputy in the community about 10 miles away has started a Facebook page called To Catch a Thief, an open group that has nearly 1,200 members who post reports of crimes that aren't priorities for the county sheriff's office. In a rural community like this, we all know each other. We're all related. You shouldn't say that. You might think it's inbreeding. Said Carol Dixon, who started the group about 3 months ago and posts regularly. People know who's doing this, she said, of the property crimes around Cave Junction, a town of nearly 2,000 people about 30 miles away from the county seat of Grants Pass. They're getting tired of it. They're speaking up, and they're saying enough. You know, that's the funny part about it is you get the local politicians in the inner city area or, you know, in the east, and they panic about this stuff. Here you got people that are walking around with guns strapped to their hip. Nobody thinks twice about it. You know, it's probably as natural to them as wearing a hat on a rainy day or putting on a jacket when it's cold outside. But in the East, where they think they know everything, they would be saying, oh, my God, it's going to be like the Old West. Yeah, it kind of is like the Old West. People walking around with guns strapped to their hips, and there are no shootouts every 5 minutes in the street, you know, no high noon stuff. Just people taking care of themselves, doing a little bit of self-reliance. And these people aren't looking for trouble. They're looking to keep their community safe. The police department's having a problem. The sheriff's department doesn't have enough officers, so they're pitching in. This is the way it used to be, used to was. But it ain't no mo, except out in Oregon. Because the people out east are basically, they spend too much damn time watching TV and watching movies going, oh, look at that. I'm willing to bet they saw that new movie that came out, you know, Cowboys and Aliens, and they probably think that's real. Oh, boy, back in the Old West, you know, they were fighting people from other planets. And people out west are going, what a bunch of morons. But this is the problem that we have in this country. Nobody trusts anybody in the highly populated areas. In the lower populated areas out in the country, you have to rely on your neighbor. You have to trust each other. And trust is built over a period of time once you get to know each other, and then you get to trust each other. But out east, and even you know, Midwest, you don't have that feeling of community anymore. what you have is, I'm a politician, I'm smarter than you are. Sure you are. We know how smart you people are. We really do know how smart you people are. I don't know about anybody else, but I've been watching the debates over the last 3 debates. What a joke that was. And as soon as the debates were over, naturally, all the pundits came out. So I have a few clips to play for you here. It's amazing the BS that flies around after a debate. Amazing the amount of BS that floats around even during the debate. But let's start with Sean Hannity, who had John Sununu on his program. And let's listen to what old John had to say.
You said in the Rose Garden, the day after the attack, it was an act of terror. It was not a spontaneous demonstration. Is that what you're saying?
Please proceed, Governor.
I want to make sure we get that for the record, because it took the president 14 days before he called the attack in Benghazi an act of terror.
Welcome back to the special edition of Hannity, and we're coming to you live from Hofstra University in Long Island, the site of tonight's presidential debate. Joining me now in the spin room from the Romney campaign is former New Hampshire Governor John Sununu. Governor, let me fact check this tonight, because in the Rose Garden, he was talking about September 11th, 2001. He doesn't talk about Benghazi being an act of terror. We've got the tape, and then we'll show the timeline of other things. Watch this.
No acts of terror will ever shake the resolve of this great nation, alter that character, or eclipse the light of the values that we stand for. Today we mourn for more Americans who represent the very best of the United States of America. We will not waver in our commitment to see that justice is done for this terrible act, and make no mistake, justice will be done.
Now, the president was asked directly. 9 days later, he stated that we're going to continue to investigate this. Then he went on The View. And if you watch, in each case, he was asked directly by Joy Behar on The View if this was an act of terrorism. That was on September the 25th, 14 days later. But watch this sequence as the president still refused to tell the American people the truth.
We don't know yet, and so we're going to continue to investigate this.
Heard Hillary Clinton say that it was an act of terrorism. Is it? What do you say?
Well, we're still doing an investigation. There's a crude and disgusting video sparked outrage throughout the Muslim world.
And he said that 6 times at the United Nations.
Look,
he did not say it, so the president got caught.
He got caught, and Candy Crowley had no business doing an real time, if you will, trying to fact check, because she was dead wrong. This president got caught tonight with a bunch of statements that weren't correct. He was wrong on the statement about the permits for oil. He was wrong on the statement about the permits for shale. He was wrong on coal. He was absolutely deliberate in his dishonesty on this issue of when he acknowledged it was terrorism. How can you go to the UN 2 weeks later and still be claiming 6 times that it's the video, and then show up tonight and claim that you said it was an act of terrorism?
But isn't this an ongoing pattern, Governor? For example, Fort Hood, if we were to believe the president, you have somebody shooting up innocent people there after they're screaming Allahu Akbar, and they said it was workplace violence. The president, early in his administration, could not say the words war on terror. They were man-caused disasters, overseas contingency operation. What is the problem with this?
Yeah, I want to stop it right there. It's come out recently that they found out the ambassador to Libya was requesting security 45 days before the attack ever happened. This president knew. His vice president knew. His security people knew. And the American people knew. So why is he trying to blow smoke up our chimney? Why is he continually trying to blow smoke up his chimney? Because it's like I said before, he has no record to run on. And the Information Nation is back. I'm your host, Ken, on Orion Talk Radio. OrionTalkRadio.com, theinformationnation.com. I don't want to use up all my time with Sean Hannity, and I want to be fair, so we've got some stuff here from George Stephanopoulos with Biden. Let's see what Uncle Joe had to say.
And with that, let's turn to the running mates in the corner for their candidates. I spoke with Vice President Biden late last night and began by asking him to explain why President Obama brought such a different game to this second debate.
I tell you what, the Obama that I've worked with, the president I've worked with, the guy passionately committed to doing something about the plight of the middle class, he was there last night. I thought he did an incredible job of pointing out what he did, what we were going to do, and I thought it was incredible that Governor Romney had nothing but a sketchy response to everything. I mean, whether it was that young college kid asking him about a job, he kept saying, I want you to get a job, I want you to get a job, or whether it was about, this is the third debate we've had on their tax policy. They've yet to come up with a single solitary specific.
What did you say to him after that first debate that got such a different performance last night?
We talked after the first debate. We talked after my debate. I didn't have any doubt about how the president would perform in this debate. That's the guy I see in command. He's the guy I know. We saw Mitt Romney really tighten up in the polls after that first debate. Did the president stop the slide last night? I don't know what the polls are going to say, but I feel very, very good about going into the next 20 days or so. I think it's 20 days. And because I think that people are getting a clear and clear outline of how vague the assertions are of Romney and Ryan. Very little detail. And I think the reason there's very little detail, George, is they don't want to say what their policies will do. One of the big moments in the debate last night, that moment where both the president and Governor Romney talking about Benghazi, and Governor Romney calling out the president, saying he wasn't referring to the act of terror against the consulate in Benghazi in that Rose Garden statement the next day. His campaign is saying that Candy Crowley was wrong on that, and I wonder what your response to that is. Well, the response is it became so clear to the American people how Governor Romney and the campaign continue to try to politicize the tragedy, and their strategy seems to be to try to make it appear that the president didn't care or didn't know or was lying. The fact of the matter is the president was clear. We are going to get to the bottom of this. The whole world will know it, and I think when the president turned and looked at Governor Romney and made that assertion, saying basically don't question me on this in terms of my caring, I thought it was a powerful moment.
Oh, it was a powerful moment. Yeah, from the most transparent administration ever. Remember that comment too, Joe? And some of the other comments that your boss that you see every day, this is the guy I see every day, and he's in control. And the transparency is going to be unbelievable in my administration. You're going to be able to see everything. We're going to put bills up on the internet for at least 72 hours before I sign them. Remember that statement, Joe? Oh, you don't remember that, do you, Joe? Or all the rest of the BS that has come out of this administration for 4 years. And how he champions the middle class. Sure he does. That's why the middle class is hurting like a raped ape, and you the guys don't care because you're not hurting. If I had your money, I wouldn't be hurting either. Neither would anybody else out there. But anyhow, it was one line of BS after another. But to be fair, let's hear from Mr. Ryan from Stephanopoulos' program.
The moment getting so much attention last night, that moment where both candidates talked about the attack on our consulate in Benghazi. You just heard Vice President Biden say that what we saw was Governor Mitt Romney trying to politicize this tragedy.
Far from it, George. Look, what's troubling about this Benghazi attack is that it took 2 weeks for the administration to get their story straight. Is that what we now know is that there wasn't even a mob present. This wasn't a reaction to a YouTube video. It took 2 weeks for the president to acknowledge this. He still went to the UN and mentioned the YouTube video 6 times. The administration sent their UN ambassador to the Sunday talk shows to suggest that this was the result of a spontaneous mob. That's what's troubling about this, George. And as all the facts come out, hopefully we can learn from this so we don't repeat this mistake ever again.
But as you heard last night, the president said that he referred to acts of terror the day after the Benghazi attack, and the moderator, Candy Crowley, backed him up on that. Was she wrong to do that?
Well, she already backtracked from that statement, as you probably now know. She basically said that she was wrong in that assertion, that Mitt Romney is right in what he said. And look, nobody believed at that Rose Garden speech that the president was suggesting that that particular attack was an act of terror.
The direct quote from the president, "No acts of terror will ever shake the resolve of this great nation."
Right. It was a passing comment about acts of terror in general. It was not a claim that this was the result of a terrorist attack. Why else, if that was the case, George, then why send Susan Rice out 4 days later to say this was the result of a spontaneous mob reacting to a YouTube video? Why go on The View? Why go on these other shows and not say the same thing? Look, that doesn't even hold water. What's troubling about this is that as we learn more about it, these facts just don't add up. That's why we need to get to the bottom of this so we can prevent something like this from happening again.
Did President Obama undo the damage from the first debate last night?
Well, look, he had obviously most people think he had a pretty bad performance the first time. So we knew he was going to change his tactics coming out in this debate. And now that they've had a chance to cut through the clutter of these 30-second ads and see the kind of leader and man that Mitt Romney is, it's a very clear choice.
Congressman Ryan, thanks very much for your time this morning.
Thank you, George.
Now, those two cuts were about the same length. And if you notice how George Stephanopoulos just kind of, oh, Georgie, oh, Joe, Joe, oh, can I kiss it a little? And then he gets Ryan on there and he just hammers him for the same amount of time all about this Benghazi thing. If you think the mainstream media is not biased in any way, shape, or form, you better listen to some more clips. But I'll tell you something else, too. I'm kind of glad to see that Ryan and Romney are getting that kind of treatment, because now they know how Ron Paul felt when you shoved it up his chocolate whiz-wang for the whole damn time he was running for president and didn't give him an opportunity. How the mainstream media treated him. People got to wake up to this stuff. Come on. It's all over the internet, for crying out loud. And YouTube videos are stuck in Obama's mind. That's where he spends most of his time until the NBA takes off again and college basketball, and he can make his bracket picks and all the rest of that stuff. But this is what goes on in our country today. This is what literally goes on in our country. The news media has taken over. I used to like the debates when they used to be run by the League of Women Voters. Now you've got CNN, ABC. I mean, come on, people. Why don't we just let Michelle moderate the damn debates? Just let Michelle Obama moderate the debates, and I'm sure there'll be no bias. No, there couldn't be any bias there. We can't have these debates being run by the mainstream media. They are as bias can get. They've not only taken and directed you, picking your president for you, but now they're running the debates to show you, to steer the debates the way they want them run. It's sickening. It is sickening what's going on. Now they're talking about having international checkers in this country to make sure that we have an honest election. You don't need to have them in here. I'm going to tell you right now, it ain't going to be an honest election. That election's over. It's just a matter of which one of the New World Order people is going to be in the White House for the next 4 years. But other than that, this election is over, baby. It's over by big time. And we've returned. Amazing. They haven't got us yet. Guess maybe they weren't listening to Joe's show tonight. Hey, remember this? Obama, when he said we've seen increases in coal production? Not according to the Energy Department. According to the Energy Department, coal production is down from 2008. As a matter of fact, in the last 2 quarters, we're down 30 million, what they call a short ton. It was announced on the news the other day that there's several coal mines shutting down and laying off all their workers. Done a heck of a job for energy, hasn't he? But that's okay. We got solar. We got wind. You know, if we had, what they ought to do is they ought to put windmills in Washington, because there's so many blowhards in that damn town. They could probably power the entire nation. All they all have to do is just, open up the windows and let it go right towards talk towards the windmills. And we'd have all this power being generated, clean power, from all the blowhards in Washington. But anyhow, Barack Obama said in Tuesday night debate that the U.S. has seen an increase in coal production and coal employment. But the Energy Information Agency of the U.S. Department of Energy says coal production in the United States hit its peak in 2008 and has never regained that level. The EIA also says coal production decreased in the first half of this year compared to the first half of 2011. However, in just the period from 2009 to 2011, excluding 2008 and 2012, coal production did increase. You know, we could go back and say, well, hey, coal production is up. And, you know, look at the 1964 figures. Give me a break here, people. You got people being unemployed. This president said when he was running for his first term that you could build a coal-fired power plant. Say that 3 times, real fast. But you wouldn't be able to afford to run it with all the regulations. This guy is a dictator any way you want to do it, and there's a dictator in waiting right now. So it's a matter of which dictator we're going to get. None of them have a plan. None of them have a clue. We'll see if the other guy gets in, maybe something will happen. You know why I'm laughing, too. It's a matter of what's going to happen. But this is what goes on. The White House lists prisoner reentry programs as a budget priority for black families only. The White House fiscal year 2013 budget includes $831 million for the Department of Justice prisoner reentry programs, which are designed to help inmates who have been released from prison find a job and to reduce recidivism rate. Take a look at the Obama White House Office of Management and Budget, and you will find a program, as mentioned under the fact sheet, on a key issue entitled An Economy Built to Last and Security for African American Families. However, there is no mention of prisoner reentry programs under any other header, not under the fact sheet on middle-class families, Latino families, Asian American families, or giving a hand up to low-income families. The program began in 2004 under George W. Bush, as a way to keep ex-prisoners from linking them by linking them with faith-based and community institutions to help them find work. According to the archived version of the Bush White House, the website page, $25 million was originally allocated to the program, which was jointly funded by the U.S. Department of Labor and the Department of Justice and various private organizations. Now, how in the hell did we go from $25 million to $831 million? That is an increase. That's an increase right there. Who are you giving this money to, Obama? Which one of your buddies haven't you paid off yet? I mean, let's get right down to it. Who have you not paid off yet? You've paid off everybody else. To take a program in the matter of, what are we talking about here, 8 years? Began in 2004 to 2013, and you're talking $831 million? You son of a bitches have never found a tax increase you didn't like or money that you didn't want to spend. Oh, yeah, we're just going to raise it up, a little bit here and a little bit there. And then you sit back and you got the balls to stand on TV and say, well, we've got to do something about the deficit. Maybe taking your ass out of the White House and sending you back home to Kenya would be the best budget move we could make. You could take your puppet Biden with you, because I don't know if they could pull your hand out of his ass today. It's been up there so long. Every time he moves his lips, we know where your hand is up there. Jeez. Goes to almost $1 trillion. $1 trillion from 25 million, or $1 billion from 25 million. I'm sorry. I'm so used to saying the word trillion. 831 million. Drop in a bucket. Let's move on. But how do you do that? If you looked at all of the programs out there, it would drive you crazy. I mean, wasteful spending of your tax dollar, Martian menus, and non-profit. Do you know that the NFL is a non-for-profit organization? A non-for-profit organization, the NFL. Isn't that nice? Do you know how much money the NFL makes? They make tons. And they're classified as a non-for-profit. How does that work? How in the hell is it I can go to work, or you can go to work and make your $30,000, $40,000, or $50,000 a year, and if you don't pay it, the IRS crawls up your ass and dies, and the NFL is considered a non-for-profit organization? When what they've got mostly working in the NFL is nothing but one millionaire after another. I mean, sure, you got the little peons on the front lines, but you got a lot of millionaires in that club. And it's all coming from the NFL, who gets their money from television revenue and ticket sales, and more from television revenue than ticket sales. I'll tell you that right now, and all the marketing that they do with all the clothing and everything else, and they are classified as a non-for-profit. How does that happen? How do you classify the National Football? Somebody please tell me how in the hell this happens. How in the heck does the NFL classify as a non-for-profit? And yet if you go into church on a Sunday and the pastor up there turns around and talks a little politics, they can take away his tax-exempt status. Something's screwed up in this country, people. You feel a little pressure every time you bend over? It's your local government crawling up your keister. The NFL is a non-for-profit. And I'm going to play the clip, and I don't have time to play right now. I'll play it in the next segment. I'm going to play you the clip about how your money is being spent. $831 million to spend so we can take a guy that went to prison and we can teach him how not to be an asshole. How does that work? Not very well from what I've seen. And now we've got the NFL, which is a non-for-profit. Yeah, you're right, Cracker. Go to the stadium and buy a beer. You have to take out a second mortgage. I'm wondering about baseball. Isn't baseball a non-for? Shouldn't baseball be classified as a non-for-profit? Actually, the Chicago Cubs should be classified as a handicap team. If you looked at how they finished this year, they were terrible. Oh, my gosh. But it's just, what about the NBA? Did they classify that as a non-for-profit? How many non-for-profits are there out there that are making mega bucks that are not paying any taxes? And you're going to sit there in Congress and you're going to tell me that the average guy who's making $30,000 a year with 2 or 3 kids to support and a wife, and he's trying to pay his mortgage, that you're going to crawl up his butt and die if he doesn't turn around and pay his taxes? And you've got multimillionaires and billionaires that are not paying a damn thing? The Information Nation. I'm your host, Ken, on Orion Talk Radio. OrionTalkRadio.com, theinformationnation.com. Every year, Senator Tom Coburn's office highlights dozens of examples of government waste. And he's came out with his list again, like $325,000 on a squirrel robot. Let me play the clip for you and let your blood pressure rise for a change.
Hello and welcome to Spinners and Winners. I'm Jonathan Karl. Congress has become such a mess that one senator known for combating wasteful spending is now declaring that Congress itself is a waste of money.
We're like the proverbial person with their head in the sand. We've made the immediate political situation trump everything. We're not doing anything to address the real problems that are in front of our country. When you know what the real problems are and you're ignoring them, it's an unforgivable failure of leadership. It's actually cowardice.
Senator Tom Coburn is on a mission. Change the way the government spends your money.
The waste is unbelievable.
It's an uphill battle.
We're bankrupt. This country's bankrupt. People just don't want to admit it. The fact is, on a cash flow basis, we're bankrupt.
Coburn has just released his Waste Book 2012 report, listing 100 examples of government waste. Exhibit A, Congress itself. This year, Congress produced the fewest number of bills in 65 years. The Senate Budget Committee has gone more than 3 years without producing a budget. Perhaps most appropriately, the least productive congressional committee of all was the Senate Small Business and Entrepreneurship Committee, which held only 4 hearings all year, passing just 3 measures, one of which paid for its own staff. Coburn also finds waste in the tax code.
On the left side,
there's the NFL loophole. Who knew that the National Football League, which pulled in more than $9 billion last year, was a nonprofit?
Illegal block in the back.
That classification cost the federal government about $40 million last year in lost revenue.
We have some of the biggest corporations in America paying no taxes whatsoever. You know something's wrong with the code.
And it's not just the tax code. Coburn lists nearly $18 billion in questionable spending. There's the $325,000 squirrel robot. Check out that tail. Apparently, it's real enough to fool a rattlesnake, thanks to a National Science Foundation grant. $40,000 went to produce a Henry David Thoreau video game where players can virtually enjoy Walden Pond, getting back to nature through a computer. There's the $1 million Martian menu. NASA has no plans for a manned mission to Mars, but it is spending nearly $1 million a year researching the kind of food that astronauts could eat if they ever get there. And the Lake Murray Airport in Oklahoma. Just 1 flight a month, but it gets $150,000 a year from the FAA. The Oklahoma Aeronautics Commissioner told us the only reason he keeps the airport open is to keep getting federal dollars that he mostly uses on other airports.
Is there anybody in the world who would say, no, thanks, government, we don't want this money?
It's the old adage, if you don't use it, you lose it.
We have a certain amount of allocation to the state, and I think it's really in poor form to ask us to say, no, we don't want our share in Oklahoma. We'll let Texas have it. That doesn't make any sense.
Senator Coburn put the Lake Murray Airport subsidy in his waste book for a different reason.
We put that in there for people to see how stupid the federal government is. We have a system that says you can collect money because you got an airport open even though nobody uses it, so you can collect money to spend on other airports. Why wouldn't we have a smarter system?
There's one thing Congress was able to accomplish this year. Add more than $1 trillion to the national debt for the 4th year in a row.
What was once a great country has been mortgaged and bankrupted by the egos and ethics of career politicians.
Isn't that nice? It has nothing to do with the ego and the ethics of career politicians. It has everything to do with the crooks that we keep putting back in. Oh, we have to take the money because otherwise it might go to Texas. Well, maybe Texas has a rundown airport that needs some repairs. Do you see the logical, the thinking of these people? You know, we're going to take the money even if we don't want to use it because, you know, otherwise somebody else is going to get it. And if we don't use it, we lose it. Who cares? Apply for it at another time when you really need it. This is the problem that we have. They keep giving them the same allocations over and over and over again, and they keep on using it and using it and using it. And like the little orphan boy, can I have more? Can I have some more, please? And they keep on spooning it into his bowl. No, you can't have more. Rather than spending that kind of money, that kind of darn money, in the first place, the NFL should not be a non-for-profit. There's $40 million in taxes. Let's start with them. That's $40 million. You corporations that aren't paying any taxes, get the hell out of our country or start paying your taxes. Jeffrey Immelt sits on the president's board to get jobs, his jobs board. That son of a bitch is the head of General Electric, who has built a plant in China, moved another plant to China, and they don't pay any damn taxes either. You wonder why? He's sitting in the White House, and they haven't met for months. I wonder how much of our tax dollars that crooked son of a bitch is eating up. Every time you turn around, it's nothing but take more money, take more money, take more money. And then they turn around and they complain about how how some people aren't paying their fair share. It has nothing to do with the billionaires or the millionaires or the people making $250,000 a year that are not paying their fair share. Maybe you should be looking at the corporations that are not paying anything, like the NFL. The NFL sits there and they talk a good game, and they put out all of this stuff. And, oh, I'm so sad the wide receiver just got hurt and they're carrying him off the field. Oh, my gosh. They're not paying any taxes, babe. You pay the taxes. You pay the taxes, and they'll keep raising their ticket prices, too. And they'll keep raising the prices on all of the National Football League authorized jerseys and hats and shoes and pants and toilet paper and whatever else. They can condoms if they could get away with that. They might as well put them on condoms. They're screwing us. And then you've got Obama and the rest of them clowns in Washington going, well, the Bush tax cuts are going to fall off the books, and we got to do something about that. The piddly little amount that you collect from the American people when you got corporations, $9 billion in profits, and they paid no taxes on it. $9 billion with a B. And they couldn't afford to pay $40 million in taxes? My ass. And just wait. All of those of you out there who are working, come January, because they're not going to do anything about the Bush tax cuts that were in place. They're going to let them fall off the books, along with the other 2% that Obama supposedly gave. We're going to ease up on the people. So they took 2% away from Social Security, out of the Social Security tax. That part of the government is going broke also. But see, that's not figured into the budget. That's what they call an unfunded mandate. So that's not even counted in the debt. But he cut the Social Security tax by 2% for the working people. That goes back on. So immediately come January 1, you've got a 2% tax increase on that. And then all the Bush tax cuts fall off, and you've got more taxes coming on top of that. But that's okay. The NFL, they're a non-for-profit. Are you pissed off yet? The NFL is a non-for-profit. Of course, then again, most corporations are non-for-profit. They must be. They don't pay taxes either. It's amazing. And we let them continue to get away with this. It's time to if we can't vote them out, we got to take them and drag them out kicking and screaming. It doesn't matter one way or the other. But this cannot go on, people. This can no longer go on. And I'm not talking just at the federal level. I'm talking at the state level. You heard that idiot? Well, we don't take the money and then they'll give it to somebody else. That's the mentality. They are looting the treasury, and they're going to make you pay for it. The Information Nation. I'm your host, Ken, here on Orion Talk Radio, OrionTalkRadio.com, TheInformationNation.com. Hour number 2. And as I told you before, some people really, I don't think, should be voting. You remember the lady who got the little silver trinket from Obama. I got Obama phone! Everybody pull Obama back, president! I got Obama phone! Well, we found another one. This one you will have to listen to believe this. She called into Y94 up in Fargo, North Dakota, because she had a problem and she thought that maybe they could help her with it. Listen very carefully. Anybody who loses control of their bladder over this one, it is not my fault. Believe me, it is not my fault.
Now, Donna, you got quite the vent today. It sounds like what's going on with you.
Well, I wanted to voice my opinion on something that's been bothering me for a really long time.
Okay.
I tried writing the newspaper and contacting TV stations, but nobody seems to want to stay with this. So that's why I'm calling you guys.
What's the issue?
Well, over the past few years, I've been involved in 3 separate car accidents involving deer, with the population and everything. Each of these incidents, they've occurred shortly after I saw a deer crossing sign on the highway. Well, my frustration is that Minnesota and North Dakota Departments of Transportation would allow these deer crossings to be in such high traffic areas. I mean, I've even seen them on the interstate. Why are we encouraging deer to cross at the interstate? I don't get it. That's such a high traffic area. I mean, I understand that deer are wild animals and they need to travel across the streets occasionally to survive. And, of course, to find food. But it seems to me that so irresponsible of us to allow these deer crossings to be in areas where these deer are so likely to be struck by oncoming traffic. I mean, wouldn't you agree? I mean, it's just, I mean, you think they would put deer crossings maybe, in, smaller towns, maybe during at a school crossing. It would be a safer place for them to cross. Put the deer crossing sign.
Deer crossings aren't telling deer that it's safe to cross there. It's just more of like an alert for drivers so they know it's like a high deer population.
The government put the deer crossings there. They can direct the deer population anywhere they want to by moving that deer crossing sign. I mean, why in the world would they place it on the highway or the interstate? I mean, God, there are so many other places I can think of than putting the deer crossing signs on busy highways and interstates.
You seem to be under the misunderstanding that the deer are somehow attracted to the deer crossing sign.
Well, yeah, the deer crossing sign is there to allow the deer to know that's where they need to cross.
Right. And all these car accidents you had involved a deer after you'd saw a deer crossing sign.
Exactly. I mean, I'm trying to watch out for the deer, but I mean, speed limit's 55, 65. How am I supposed to, you can't brake really quick if if the deer just is crossing in that deer crossing area.
So you'd like to see these signs move somewhere safer?
Right. If we can move them, don't put deer crossing signs on the interstate or freeways. Put them in lower traffic areas. Somewhere where the speed limit's, a lot slower. Maybe small towns. I don't know. I think school crossings is a good idea.
Well, listen, we will. You say you've tried to contact quite a few people about this.
Right. Yeah, I wrote at least 3 or 4 letters, and
we will spread the word. Okay, we will try to kind of help you raise some awareness for this issue. Okay.
Oh, thank you. We need to move those deer crossing signs.
We appreciate your comment this morning.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
Okay. Got no by my phone. There's more. She actually believed everything she said. She actually thinks that the government controls the deer population and can send them anywhere they want to. So she she called Y94 FM up in Fargo, North Dakota, and that was the phone call. And she'd been writing people. So they said they would help her. So they did. They took that clip and put it on YouTube. It's gotten almost 2 million hits. There's a second part to this, which I'll play in the next segment. I'm just thankful she did not write to our government in Washington. Can you imagine the amount of money that would be allocated by our dumb politicians going, she's got a point. Deer should not be crossing at the interstate. We've got to move all those signs. So the first thing they would do is they'd get a bunch of their crony buddies, and they would have a commission, a blue ribbon panel that would go out and scour the United States. They would look at every deer crossing sign. Probably only cost us $50 or $60 million for this study. Then they'd have to hire people. Hey, there you go, a jobs program. We're going to hire people to move the signs. You're going to move the sign from out in the middle of nowhere. We're going to put it inside the city right at the school crossings. Maybe we could get a deer and we could put him in one of them cute little reflective jackets with a sign that says stop and go, so he could be sure that his buddies crossed the road properly. My God, if she'd have sent one of those letters to Congress, she probably would have got more tax revenue than the NFL gets not to pay. They wanted something to waste money on. That would be an issue that they could waste money on. Move the deer crossing sign. She doesn't understand that deers are, they're migratory. They kind of follow the same path, so they know exactly where they're going to cross. But she votes. That's the scary part. She probably votes. Now, they didn't say whether she was blonde, brunette, redhead, but she probably does vote. Maybe she's the new Obama girl. You're absolutely right. Looking in the chat room, Dope to Smoke says this woman should run for governor. I think you're right on that. We could have another ding-dong in office. I heard that thing, and I'll tell you, I about lost it. Because I turned on the video, the YouTube video, and I'm watching it, and I kind of got mesmerized by it. Now, hey, there you go. Mike 6 says, I can teach a dog to sit and stay. Why not teach a deer? Please hire me. So there you go. It's creating jobs already. Why don't you, Mike, I think you should send a letter to the Congress along with, the link to the video, and you should ask Congress if they would hire you to teach deer not to cross on the interstates so we could move the sign so we could make Donna happy. Honey Tropic says, I can't believe people that dumb exist. Oh, believe it. They're all in Congress, and a few are left over for the rest of us to enjoy. This kind of stuff leaves you speechless when you see it on, you just kind of look, you go, huh? At first, I had to listen to this several times because at first I thought, it was part of a shtick that they were doing, but it wasn't. Especially when you hear part 2, which I'll play after the break. Hey, this is the Information Nation. I'm your host, Ken, on Orion Talk Radio. OrionTalkRadio.com, theinformationnation.com. I've been getting texts from a couple of our hosts. They're rolling on the floor laughing. They can't believe this stuff, and they're waiting for part 2. Listen to part 2, because what's really interesting with this is what has happened to this lady since she made the phone call from her friends and from the local community at large. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Playhouse family, now after having received well over 1 million views on YouTube, may we welcome back to the show Fargo's own Donna McNeely!
Hi.
How are you?
Hi. I'm very well. How are you guys?
We're good, but girl, you famous.
Oh, my goodness. I can't believe all this hubbub. Holy cow. Well, first of all, can I just say thank you to you 3 wonderful human beings for being so nice to me the last time I was on the radio with you.
Thank you. Now, how are things now? Just let us know how your life is, because I don't know if you realize you're well into over 1 million views on YouTube.
I know. Oh, my gosh. I mean, gee whiz. From that one phone call, I mean, you guys must have had to, totally tie your giggle bones down, with that last call. My life, wow, it's been interesting, almost kind of like a carny ride in an odd way.
To clarify, you are now aware deer crossing signs, their purpose is to alert drivers of deer, yes?
Yes, yeah. And now that I've had the reasoning for the deer crossing signs explained to me, I just have to say that I feel incredibly stupid. I mean, honestly, just on my defense, I had no clue that these signs are for us. I mean, because I never really thought about it enough to realize that I was kind of being ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and in my defense, you know, I grew up in a really small North Dakota town, you know, and I'm a passionate Irish woman. I have an extreme love for animals, but, you know, where I lived and grew up, I was pretty isolated. So until my husband brought me to Fargo about 3 years ago or so, and I started seeing all these deer crossing signs, you know.
Well, and obviously when we were talking to you, we were trying to be nice. We tried to kind of explain things, but once we got off the phone with you and people started calling in, what kind of happened when you heard that?
Oh, my gosh. I mean, honestly, literally, when I got off the phone with you guys, my coworkers and my family, they were texting me after this, and, you know, I heard about all your phone calls. Holy cow, you guys must have been, like, inundated. People making fun of me, and then my phone wouldn't stop ringing for, like, almost 2 days. It was crazy. I couldn't believe it.
So have you been getting constant attention since you've been on our show?
Actually, you know, after a while, it died down for a couple weeks after I was talking to you guys on the radio. But then just a few days ago, I started getting email about the YouTube links from people with the podcast that you had posted on your website.
That had to be nice, too, to know that it was just getting spread all over the world, huh?
Yeah. In one respect, yeah, kind of. You know, part of me, you know, has decided to stand up and just own this like a modern woman, you know. And, you know, I have people coming up to me and saying, oh, my God, are you Donna, dear lady? And, you know, are you that lady from Y94? And, you know, after a while, I was at the point of saying, yes, that's me. I'm Donna, the dear lady. So I'm just, you know, laughing it off and rolling with it, plain and simple. But you know what?
What's that?
The one thing that's been kind of rough is some neighborhood children have been, you know, keeping printouts of deer crossing signs and shoving them in my mailbox. I mean, this has been going on for like the past week or so. So that's kind of frustrating. But, you know, kids will be kids, you know, I'm kind of letting things roll off my shoulders, tittering. And then my coworkers have been relentless, and, you know, patients have been teasing me, you know, because I work as a receptionist at a clinic here in Fargo. You know, I thought things were dying down a little bit until we woke up this morning and found, like, a plastic life-size deer in our lawn next to one of those highway signs planted in our front yard. So, I mean, criminy Christ, people. I get it now.
Well, listen, Donna, I mean, the first call was very fun for us. You seem to be taking it in good spirits, and we certainly appreciate you calling in. And I'm sorry that this is, to some extent, maybe negatively affected your life, but we'll do our best to maybe help it calm down here. It will blow over, I promise.
You know, thank you so much. That's so sweet. Just, you know, I'm a concerned woman, you know, when it comes to certain subject matters. And honestly, you know, I absolutely learned a good lesson out of the whole experience, if anything else. But, you know, I would kind of ask if I can ask people to stop sharing the links of our Herschel conversations, you know, that would be kind of nice. You know, I really want the recording of my first call to kind of go away soon.
Well, I mean, over 1 million people have seen it. How many people are left?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know how many people are in the world, so.
Well, Donna, I really do appreciate that you can kind of take the title Donna the Deer Lady and own that. I think we, if nothing else, we owe you a T-shirt. A Donna the Deer Lady T-shirt. We will make it and design it ourselves.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, that's so sweet of you guys. You're so sweet. That's very nice of you. Thanks for being so nice to me.
You're famous. You're international. Now and forever. Donna the Deer Lady!
3 car accidents with deer, a phone call to a radio station, a bunch of I wonder how long it took them to explain it to her. This woman drives. She drives. You're right. She should be the governor of a state. Unbelievable. They won't run over Santa. I like that cracker. Don't be too sure about that. They haven't got any Santa crossing signs out there. But do you realize that this woman drives around in a 3,000 to 5,000 pound car? She probably votes. And the thing that gets me is, well, I came from a rural area. How rural were you? I mean, what, were you the only person out there and they didn't have any type of vehicles whatsoever and you walked? I mean, give me a break. Give me a break. Madam, with the kind of level of intelligence you have, you should run for the White House. You'd probably get elected. And you could take, I got Obama phone, along with you. And the two of you. I need traffic. I wonder what she thinks a traffic light is for. Well, she knows yellow means go like hell because it's going to turn red. People in the chat room are great. But you and the Obama phone lady, you could run, you know. You'd probably beat Obama. I mean, there's a lot of other people out there like you. Don't feel bad, Donna, because there are a lot of people out there that are just like you, that are just totally in the dark. It's unbelievable that this is what we have in our American culture. And when we come back, I got a politician that isn't too bright either. And we're going to run that for you. When you hear what they are proposing, you got to figure it's Donna's husband. Because it makes absolutely no sense what they are proposing. And I'm going to save that for you for the next hour, for in a half an hour. It's to the rest of you people around the world, not all of us are as dumb. And we do have listeners. We have them all around the world, Australia, Great Britain. So we're not all that dumb. All right, the Information Nation. I'm your host, Ken, on Orion Talk Radio, OrionTalkRadio.com, TheInformationNation.com. You know, citizens aren't the only ones that have lost their mind. We have politicians who do the same thing. How about a new law that they're trying to push in this one in Jersey? Give this a listen.
Meet Adrian. At 7 years old and 18 pounds, she's an experienced traveler.
There you go.
Calm and composed. What Adrian isn't aware of is that the future of pets in cars has been a major concern for some lawmakers in New Jersey, who have been considering implementing a law to buckle up pets.
The easiest and probably the most effective way to secure an animal in a car is either using a carrier and then buckling the carrier in, or using a travel harness.
We tried to use a buckle with Adrian in a cage. How do I do this? And then, without a cage.
Harnesses can cost up to $40, and if this bill were to become law, we would be fined from $25 to $1,000 and slapped with animal cruelty charges while the cat sits peacefully in the back.
While the extra safety may make sense for bigger pets,
a 60-pound dog can exert up to 2,700 pounds of force on impact.
It's the future of animals of all sizes being debated. New Jersey would be the first state with a law requiring pets to wear restraints, though Governor Chris Christie has vowed to veto it if the legislation reaches his desk.
A couple of weeks ago, we were stopped by a police officer and he told us that, I'd have to buckle him in once this law gets passed, and it's something that I should be aware of. But it's a motorcycle. How can I buckle the dog in?
While pet owners have different opinions on which part of the bill makes sense and which doesn't.
You have a bigger dog, maybe like Bo over here, and he gets the whole back seat. It's kind of a little ridiculous to me to put him in a harness.
For a big dog, it may be possible, but for a small dog like Grace, I don't know. I think she'd wiggle right out of the seatbelt.
One thing they agree on is that lawmakers could find more crucial issues to focus on.
I do think we have bigger, better things to concern ourselves with. I think that if somebody wants to do it, they should, and if they don't want to do it, they shouldn't have to.
If anything, this is a cash grab. There's other issues in the world that they should be focusing on. So leave us alone.
Especially at a time when the state of New Jersey is experiencing a 9.8 unemployment rate, the state's worst in the last 30 years. Creatures like Adrian traveling around like this, or like that is a curious top priority. Nastasia Churkina, RT, New Jersey.
Okay. We not only have deer crossing problems, but we have a problem with you putting your dog or your cat in your car. Solution, tie a rope around their neck and throw them in a trunk. No, I'm only kidding. I love animals. I don't want to get hate mail now, please. But do you see? I don't know who's worse, Donna or the legislature in Jersey. You know, they've only got one sane guy there, and that's Chris Christie, who says, I'm going to veto the damn thing if it comes across my desk. And did you listen to the other guy that was pulled over by the cop? Well, you're going to have to put a seatbelt on him. It's a motorcycle. I know a lot of people that ride around with their animals. They sit in front of them, or they sit. There's one guy out there that he's going to take off on the bike. The dog jumps on the back of the bike, and they take off. How in the heck are you going to? Yeah, seatbelts for motorcycles. Okay. I don't know who's more retarded, Ancient, Donna or the legislatures. But this is the kind of stuff that they're passing out there. We pay these people. We pay them quite well. We actually give them a pension so they can retire. I wish a lot of them would take that option right now and retire. So, seatbelts for dogs and cats. Hey, if any of you people are entrepreneurial out there, you know, maybe you can come up with a way, you know, a seatbelt harness for dogs and cats. You can make them in a variety of sizes. The only thing is you'd have a heck of a product liability case if somebody happens to slam on their brake and their dog or cat's head comes off. They're animals. You'd be surprised what an animal can do. Have you ever seen a cat on top of a roof jump to the ground? They land on their feet. They land on their feet. Cats are something else. I mean, you can take a cat, throw them up in the air, and they'll land on their feet. They just do every time. I think it's funny when you see people call the fire department to take and get the cat out of the tree. I don't want my cat getting hurt. It's a cat lady. It climbed up there. It can climb down. Yeah, but my cat's up in the tree. Oh, I'll treat it better. Put out some food. It'll come down. Unbelievable. And we actually have people that are sitting around going, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Must all be related to Donna. I mean, how many more of these idiotic laws can we take? I mean, we're going to move all the deer crossing signs to help Donna out. Oh, by the way, they said in that clip that they got 1 million views. They've gotten almost 2 million views on that video of Donna. But, yeah, Honey Tropic, I saw a poodle in a yellow raincoat last week. Yeah, they've got everything. I mean, people go nuts with their pets. And they've got them in raincoats, and they've got, cute little outfits for them, and they even dress them up for Halloween and all the rest of that. These people think they're children. And some of these people, I'm glad they don't procreate. I rather they had a pet than children. But it's ridiculous what's going on in this country. Not only from the average person, but from the politicians. I mean, I'm sorry, this stuff kind of leaves me speechless. I don't know what to say about this kind of stuff. It's it gets nuts after a while, ladies and gentlemen. You look at this stuff day in and day out, and you start to realize that there is humor in the world. Unfortunately, it's coming from our lawmakers and our fellow citizens. It's pathetic. And I have more for you. But I'm not going to play that type of stuff tonight. I have kind of got a little bit off track with this stuff because it is kind of funny. Hey, did you know that in Holland, Michigan, the workers at an LG Chem, a $300 million lithium-ion battery plant heavily funded by taxpayers, they have so little work that the workers there are sitting around playing board games, watching movies, reading magazines, and playing cards. And it's been going on for months. There's your tax dollars at work. There is your tax dollar at work. I have on my website the President Obama's Taxpayer-Backed green energy failures. They've got a list of them there. How much money has been put out to who? Let's see what we can find here. Just to give you an example, Evergreen Solar, $25 million, Spectra Watt, $500,000, Solyndra, $335 million, Beacon Power, $43 million, Nevada Geothermal, $98.5 million, Sun Power, $1.2 billion, First Solar, $1.46 billion, Babcock and Brown, $178 million, Dell Subsidy Energy One, $118.5 million, Aminex, $5.9 million, Fisker Automotive, $529 million, Abound Solar, $400 million, and the list just goes on, and there's 34 of them on there. All total, I don't even, let's see if they say how much money. They had set aside $80 billion for subsidies. But you look at some of these countries, and they have a lot of them marked with asterisks that are they're filing bankruptcy. So you can go to my website and you can find that one. It says President Obama's tax-backed green energy failures. Hey, the Information Nation. I'm your host, Ken, here on Orion Talk Radio. OrionTalkRadio.com, theinformationnation.com. Don't forget, tomorrow night, 10 till midnight Eastern Time, down the rabbit hole with Popeye. That's right. He added another day. He's on Monday now. So those of you who are not aware of it, yes, Popeye is on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Little boogers all over the place. Well, you know what they say about rabbits. They multiply. Anyhow, the Bay Area is now, the Bay Area Law Enforcement Agency are now testing drones. And I think you'll get a kick out of this, and also how much money they're getting from the government. Take a listen.
Tonight at 6 o'clock, they're used in military combat, but now aerial drones are being considered by local law enforcement. Why? As a cost-cutting way to use technology to fight crime and save lives. NBC Bay Area Stephanie Trong is live in Oakland with the details. And Stephanie, there are fears that the use of these drones could be an invasion of privacy.
Janelle, that's right. Concerns over privacy and civil rights. Now, the Alameda County Sheriff's Office is the one bringing this idea up, and I have to say it is very preliminary at this point. But here is a picture of a drone that they tested just 2 months ago, that the office tested 2 months ago. A handful of law enforcement agencies in the country have gotten federal approval to use these drones, and if Alameda County Sheriff's Office does so, it would be the first in California.
You'd be able to see what the drone is seeing as it's flying.
At 4 pounds and 4 feet wide, this drone gets a bird's eye view that tactical officers on the ground are often blind to.
It could save lives.
In this demonstration at the county's Office of Emergency Services building in Dublin, it's a man standing in the shadows on a rooftop, 3 possible explosives in his reach.
Near priceless. It's very valuable to any tactical officer as you're setting up your perimeters and knowing what the suspect may have in his hands, how the suspect is dressed, what are the avenues of escape.
Alameda County Sheriff Greg Ahern says his office would only use the drone during emergencies.
Pursuing a suspect on foot or pursuing a vehicle in an area, or search and rescue or disaster.
And for proactive policing, like catching marijuana fields on public lands.
They do have infrared capacity.
And in grow houses. One of the most valuable assets, a live video feed.
You'd be able to see what the drone is seeing as it's flying.
But not everyone's a fan. The ACLU wants drones only deployed when there's a warrant and is worried they might hurt privacy and people. Quote, drone manufacturers are also considering offering police the option of arming these remote-controlled aircraft with weapons like rubber bullets, tasers, and tear gas. But Sheriff Ahern says an armed drone is out of the question, adding local agencies need to capitalize on innovation.
I think it is a no-brainer.
And in 2 weeks, the Alameda County Sheriff's Office is hosting Urban Shield. That's a preparedness exercise involving about 30 local law enforcement agencies, and they will be testing out a couple of drones to see how they do in real-life situations, so simulations, I should say. Now, they do cost about $50,000 to $100,000 each, these drones. The sheriff, Greg Ahern, says he has looked into a federal grant that specifically promotes community policing to see if that could pay for it here in Alameda County. Live in Oakland, Stephanie Trong, NBC Bay Area News.
Interesting concept. Okay, thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah, arm the drones? No, we wouldn't do that. No, No, we won't. We're not going to arm them. Yeah, right. Maybe you're not going to arm them, but what about the next guy? And 50 to 100 grand a piece? Come on, people. You can buy a car for less than that. And I was looking at drones the other day. Little personal drones. I mean, they started around $300, and you can get them as, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. And if all you're going to do is fly it around with a camera, get one of the cheapy ones, man. You figure it this way: let's say you spent $10,000 for each drone, and you trained your officers. You could put a drone in every police car that you've got, and then if the situation evolves itself, they could all pull out their drones and they could have races around the block while they're looking for this guy. Now, give me a break here. 50 to 100 grand a piece. Which one of the campaign contributors has this thing going in his pocket? This is getting ridiculous. $50,000 a piece. That's almost as expensive as the Obama phone. I mean, and then to sit there and say, well, we could arm them with rubber bullets or tasers or tear gas. Oh, no, we're not. No, that's simply out of the question. It's out of your question, dude, till you get some other wacko in there. Let me tell you something. If some other wacko gets your job when you get voted out and somebody else gets voted in, the next thing is going to be, hey, I want these drones armed for crowd control. Yeah, right, crowd control. They're going to control the crowd, all right. You get to a point where you listen to the BS long enough, and you start to understand that these people are insane. They are literally insane, and they are wasteful with every cotton-picking dollar, dime, nickel, penny that they get. 50 grand to 100 grand each? Hey, just update your helicopters, dude. Why are we... Yeah, you're right, Cracker. It's only tax money. It's not real money. Yeah, all they do is call Bernanke up and say, hey, we need another $5 billion. Could you print it, knock it off on the presses? Sure, not a problem. And they just print it off, and then they pay somebody with their monopoly money, and we continue on. It has gotten to the point where the amount of money that is wasted in this country is unbelievable. We used to be the wealthiest country in the world. We used to be the largest lending country in the world. Unfortunately, we never got paid back. See, they were calling it lending, but in other words, they were gifts that they were giving away. Now we're the largest debtor nation in the world, and we are the largest borrower in the world. And now you understand why. Because we throw money away. We throw it away like used tissue paper. Obama's not concerned about it. Bush wasn't concerned about it. Romney's not going to be concerned about it. It's not their money. They don't care. Until we start getting concerned about it, start throwing these morons out, start confronting them in town halls, start making them feel as uncomfortable when they have to come back to their district as we are every time we look at our paycheck stub and go, holy cray. Look at the amount of taxes, federal, state, local, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. And that's just coming out of your check. Now, every time you spend, think about the amount of money that you are spending. You go to the gas station, there's gasoline tax, there's federal excise tax, there's state tax, there's local tax. You go to the grocery store, there are taxes on that. You go and buy a shirt, you pay taxes on that. Everything that you buy you pay taxes on. And these asshats in Washington are saying, well, maybe we should just have a national sales tax. You've already got it, dude. You've already got it. And that scares the hell out of me more than anything else, because I say, well, it's only going to be about 4% today. Tomorrow it'll be 5. Then it'll be 6. Then it'll be 12. Then it'll be 15. They're not going to be happy until they get every penny out of your pocket so they can give it to their corrupt friends. I'm willing to bet that list that I was telling you about on Obama and his, let's call it what they are, donations to the green energy people. I bet if you look down that list, you'd find a whole bunch of people on there that are donors to his campaign. This is payback. Bailing out the auto industry was payback to the union. Solyndra, two of the biggest donors, two of his largest donors or guys that collected funds for him, had Solyndra. And they don't care. It's not their money. Well, why don't we take some of these people out of their 15,000 square foot house and put them in a 900 square foot house and make them get out there and cut the lawn and trim the hedges and shovel the sidewalks and, do all the maintenance on their vehicles and that. Let's see how they like it. Let's see if they really enjoy that. These people have no idea how you live. They have no idea how the average person lives. They have no idea about anything that the average person goes through. And they have no idea how to get this economy rolling again. We'll see what happens over the next several years. We know what we've got with Obama. We're not sure what we've got with Romney, possibly the same thing. I'm not trying to be a downer on anybody, but it's going to be one of them too. It's, that's already been decided for us. But what's going to happen to the American people? There are 535 people in Washington. There's over 310 million of us wandering around the United States. Personally, I say screw them. There's more of us than there are of them.